It's Thursday again, tell everybody to lock in, grab some popcorn, a drink, and go and throw your AirPods in. It's the 1 hour show, constantly speaking facts. Bulletproof stats are always shooting from Matt. And when it comes to Kyle, you getting numbers and style. Jake is gonna educate you, he has that knowledge on file. Players, step your game up, don't be sluggish or lazy. Or Jimmy J might hit you with a shaky baby. Catch him on YouTube or any podcast platform. Breaking all the news down like Shaq does the backboards. No hot takes, this is where the hottest debate's at. Now kick your feet up, cause it's time for straight facts.
What's going on, yo? Welcome back to Straight Facts, a sports show that educates, entertains, brought to you by the Up On Game Presents Network. Season 3, y'all. We're here, Season 3. I need a round of applause for that because it's highly anticipated season, highly anticipated episode. We are so excited to be back in studio here at Brownstone Media in Pottstown. My guys, Jake Galley and Stat Matt Robinson, as always. But, y'all, we had to kick off this season. We had to kick off the season with a big episode, man. We had to come in hot for season 1. And so we brought in a special guest today, co-creator, co-founder of Up On Game Presents Network, also former Pro Bowler in the NFL, former number 2 overall draft pick from the Penn State University, Mr. LaVar Arrington, as you see on the TV screen, man. LaVar, thanks for joining us today, man. We excited to have you. We excited you with the facts, man.
Come on, man. Straight facts, baby.
Straight facts, baby. It's been a long time coming, man. A lot of people have been talking about, like, man, when LaVar is going to be on the podcast, were you guys going to get LaVar on? I said, man, Head Honcho is busy, but I promise we're going to get him on to talk some facts. And here you are, man. You kept your word. I appreciate you keeping your word like that.
Come on, man. I'm never too busy for one of the squad, so
yes.
We good.
We appreciate. You see how they treat us, man? You see how they treat us over there? That's good people, man. We like that. But let's get started, man, because not only are we anticipating season 3, but we're anticipating the NFL season, man. It is, you go through a long, grueling summer, the dog days. We talk about it pretty much every episode of the off season. So really quick before we get into it, man, give the people out there some perspective, LaVar. Like, how is it coming into the NFL season as a player? Like, we know as fans, we're chomping at the bit all summer to get on the field and get ready. So what's that preparation process like? Where's your mental at when you're coming into the season? Tell us people about that.
I mean, at this point, you're excited to get the season underway. You've done training camp, you've done the mini camps, you've done the off season. You know, some guys had to get through contract situations, whatever it may be. It's just time to play football. That's what's super exciting to the players is once you get to this point in the year, coming out of training camp and coming out of preseason, the focus now becomes you're playing against other teams. The games count now, and you get to do something that you love and get paid to do it. It becomes your profession, but it should also, in a lot of ways, be your obsession. So, I mean, the preparation, I mean, that's a lot. You know what I mean? You get up, you work out. Some people work out twice a day. Some guys work out 3 times a day.
Where were you at? Where you was 2 a day, you was 3 a day. Where were you at?
It depended. Sometimes it was 0 times a day. Sometimes it was 1 time a day. Sometimes it was 2 times a day, and sometimes it was 3 times a day. It depended on what time of the year it was. Sometimes you got to give your body a break. Get your body a rest, get your mind a rest. You know, it's funny when I retired. I recalled I realized I hadn't slept since I started playing ball. So literally from pretty much high school until I retired, I didn't sleep. And it's like you get sleep, but you don't sleep. You don't sleep. So the only time you might get a decent opportunity to kind of get good rest is in the off season. So every once in a while, you know, I was a 3-a-dayer, more or less, probably a 2-a-dayer. Did conditioning once a day, maybe strength and conditioning once a day, and then did like more skill work, more specified work as to what my position was during the course of the day too.
Well, LaVar, you mentioned losing sleep. And I got to think the team that we have on the docket first to talk about the Indianapolis Colts, with the way last season ended,
Oh, nightmares.
they have to have
Nightmares.
lost some sleep about losing that one to the Jaguars. Now they have a chance week 1. They have not won 8 straight season openers. I think that's the 3rd longest streak in NFL history. They open week 1 at the Texans. Do you view that as like a must-win game?
That's a cupcake game. Like that's
it's
So is
a
Jacksonville.
you should
That's
it's a you should win the game, right? And so, but here's the thing: they got a new head coach. They played some decent football towards the end of the year. They played some inspired football. Lovie Smith, who knows if the results that he gets from that change of culture resonate, right? So there's a lot of unknowns about the Texans right now. So I would say I don't think it's a must-win game, but it's certainly a trap game. It's one of those games where it's like, you should win this game against the Houston Texans. You should snap that losing streak that you guys have had. But it's not, I don't think it's going to be as simple or as easy as it may sound when you say the Houston Texans, especially because they're on the road. They're on the road to play them.
In Houston. There's some landmines over there in Houston that if you're not careful, you definitely get tripped up and blown up. And it's perfect that Jake asked that question about the Colts, because that starts our first segment of teams who need a win in week 1. And it's funny you asked, like, is that a must win for the Colts? Because there's this, when you talk about the way they ended last season, I know their quarterback is different, so maybe addition by subtraction there, but that's an ugly feeling. That's an icky feeling that you must get rid of to start the season. And to me, not just like beating the Texans, but like soundly beating the Texans, almost blowing the Texans out. Like, get all that stink off of you. Get that all out of your back. Make no one remember how you ended last season, because in the public's eye, the Texans aren't far away from the Jaguars. So, like, if you don't beat the Texans, or you barely beat them, scrape by a field goal, to me that doesn't get rid of the thought of the Jaguars last season. To me, that keeps it in everybody's mind. But Matt Ryan's your boy. Matt Ryan's your boy. So, like, talk about it now.
I really think the Colts are going to view this game as I'm so angry about how last season ended. All the vets from last year are just going to come out guns blazing, and I really think this is a game you have to make a statement. You have to have like a big pick 6 touchdown or strip sack on Davis Mills. You have to dominate the game, and it doesn't have to be like, you don't have to win by like 50 points. You just have to, when people watch the game, that the Colts dominated. And speaking to my Matt Ryan love,
it's love.
Yeah, love.
It's love.
I really think he's the perfect guy to replace Carson Wentz, because he is a stable, smart, capable quarterback who will know his role. At this end part of his career, he's honestly just middle of the pack, but you can count on him to make the smart throws. They went 11-5 with Philip Rivers 2 years ago. I think they can do the same thing with Matt Ryan this year.
But you said the Colts went through what they went through and should be pissed off because they lost to the Jaguars to miss the playoffs. But what about the Texans? Shouldn't they? I would assume the Texans should be more pissed off than the Colts. I mean, they got treated like a raggedy stepchild by Deshaun Watson. They just had to pay out 30 lawsuit, settlements and stuff like that. Like, they've been embarrassed. Like, you're talking about the embarrassment of losing a game to Jacksonville to get into the playoffs is one thing. The embarrassment of what they've gone through after they paid that man at their quarterback's position all that money, what Bill O'Brien did to that roster by getting rid of all those guys before he left, before he was gotten rid of. I would say, if we're looking at the odds of who's going to come out more pissed off and ready to ball, I got to go with the Texans on it. They're at home. It's hard. I don't care how bad the team is. It's hard to win on the road in week 1. That's a difficult proposition in week 1. So even a good team going into a game perceivably against a team that isn't as superior as them, there's still a lot of elements at play for the Texans to give a showing that would be inspiring enough to pull the win off. I wouldn't be shocked if the Texans were able to pull this game out.
I wouldn't be terribly shocked.
I wouldn't be shocked either. I was more saying that's how the Colts have to approach the game. So, like, after getting embarrassed by Jacksonville, if they want to prove themselves as a contender in a really stacked AFC, they have to come out like that. Whether they do or not is another question. And I'm not saying the Texans won't either, but the talent gap is there, at least on paper.
The talent gap is there on paper. And for what it's worth, you guys are asking, is it a must win? They don't have an easy schedule, right? Like, if you look at what they have to go through in order to have a successful year, it's not the easiest of schedules. They have the Texans, they have the Jaguars. That's not bad. Those are two games that you, in theory, right, you need to get out of the gates quickly. Get those 2 wins. Get 2 wins under your belt, and then you got the Chiefs. That's a test, right? That's going to be a test. That's one of them step-up games. Then you got the Titans. That's a step-up game, and it's a divisional opponent, right? That's probably the team that you're looking at to win that division if it's not the Colts. So now you're talking about a two games you should win, maybe 2 games you should either split or you should lose. So you come out of that, right? You come out of that, and then you got the Broncos and the Jaguars and then the Texans again. So that's a rough 2-game stint again, but you get one where it's like, where will Jacksonville be this year? We don't know. So you got to get the dubs you can get when you can get them. So while I won't say it's a must win, I get where you guys are coming from on the premise that they need to win this game for certain. If they want to put themselves – because here's the thing. It's not just about making the playoffs, right? If they just make the playoffs, maybe they're a wild card team. But you're talking about a team – you just talked about the talent deficit. You're talking about a team in the Colts that have underachieved with a ton of talent on their roster.
Facts.
Yeah, so yes, they need to win this game for a lot of reasons outside of just getting off to a good start. This is a team that should be competing for the divisional title, and the only way you're going to do that is if you're beating divisional opponents.
And out the gate quickly. That's a great point you made. I also want to see. I personally just want to see something from Matt Ryan, because of all the bad that Carson Wentz did last year, and I can't excuse Week 18. That's just hilarious that he went and threw up a dud in Jacksonville. But we talked about his numbers a lot. 27 touchdowns, only 7 interceptions. I got to see Matt Ryan hit that threshold or more. And if we're talking about improving the quarterback position, I'm like, do you realistically see Matt Ryan going better than 27-7 on like 64% completion for 4,000 yards? Do you realistically see that?
I think he can get there. And honestly, I don't think, like, yes, their offense was good, and I don't know if you could say borderline elite. I don't have the numbers up in front of me exactly, but like, they have Jonathan Taylor, one of the number 1 playmakers in the league. All Matt Ryan has to do is be average, be a game manager.
We're great at that. We're great at that.
Because seriously, they have a elite defense led by Shaq Leonard, and like, all you have to do, turn around, hand the ball to Jonathan Taylor 20, 25 times a game. I don't know. Matt Ryan can do that.
They got receivers.
Pittman too.
Pittman too.
They got guys. They got talent. And I agree, though. When you have a running back as elite as Jonathan Taylor is, it keeps defenses honest. If you try to sit back and play Matt Ryan against the run, you're going to have to deal with, him being able to get the ball to guys in those open spaces of the defense. So when you got to play the run first in a pass first, league anymore, that there's something to be said about that. There's a tremendous value, and they got a decent offensive line as well. So if they can stay healthy and they can do the things that they're supposed to do, you're looking at this team as possibly a competitor in the playoffs. In the playoffs, not in the season, a competitor in the playoffs.
What's the ceiling for the Colts then for you? The ceiling is an AFC Championship berth?
I mean, I wouldn't say that's the ceiling. I would probably say for this team, just knowing how loaded the AFC is, the ceiling would be divisional round. I don't see them making it to the championship round, but it's possible. It's possible. So I would say the ceiling is getting a divisional title, getting into the playoffs, and possibly getting out of that first round of the playoffs. But I don't see. I think that's the glass ceiling. I think they hit a hard ceiling after that.
That's true. That's true. All right. We're going to move on to our next team. Speaking of teams who have to prove that last year wasn't a fluke, but from the other end, the team that represented the AFC in the Super Bowl last year, the Cincinnati Bengals, led by Joe Burrow going into his third year, had a tremendous second year last year. We know comeback player of the year. We know what he did last year. They start week one against the Steelers, won both games against the Steelers last year, 24-10, and then 41-10. Blew them out the second time. But, the Steelers have been able to hold Joe Burrow in check despite of that, holding him to under 200 passing yards each game, only allowed 2 touchdown passes over those 2 games. So just because the Bengals went out and beat the Steelers doesn't mean Joe Burrow was the reason. We have a new-look Steelers team. We have a new quarterback over there in Pittsburgh. A lot of people are kind of looking for the Steelers to kind of turn it around, led by Mike Tomlin and company. So I'm glad we put the Bengals on here because a certain one, again, Stat Matt, was saying that might have been outperforming themselves last year for the Bengals.
Well, go ahead, Matt. Let me hear what you got to say.
I love this. I love this.
I love this.
So the outperforming was more their postseason performances. They almost lost to the Raiders, who I'm not high on. We'll get to that later in the show.
Don't collapse on yourself now.
Tennessee lost to the Bengals more than the Bengals beat them. Burrow got sacked a million times. They still found a way to win because Tannehill had a really horrible game. And they had a really impressive defensive performance against Kansas City. I can't take anything away from them. And then they almost won the Super Bowl. But to me, it's a team that is a good team, like an 11-6 team that isn't like there's a reason why they're not the AFC favorites because the NFL playoffs are a kind of up like random event, and it's great if you win, but like the best team doesn't always win. And I was partial to the Chiefs and Bills last year, and not taking anything away from Cincy, but I just think they're the third. If you're just doing a ranking, like if these teams are going to play each other 10 times, I'd say that like the Bengals are the third best of those 3. But I still think they're the best. Them and the Ravens are the best team in the AFC North.
Wow.
There you go.
I tend to look at this Bengals team as a team that found its way as the season progressed. Mm-hmm. When you can do what they were able to do, and you got to keep in mind, they did that against Kansas City twice in less than less than a month. It was like in 3 weeks' time.
3 week span, yeah.
They did them boys the same exact way in the second half both times. You don't do that by accident, right? So that's talking about their defense. And you would assume their defense is going to be better this year. But then when you talk about their backfield with Mixon and their receiving core with who's my guy? What's my guy's name to receive? Jamar Chase.
T. Higgins, right.
T. Higgins, Boyd. It just, to me, do they have Boyd? Yeah, they still have Tyler Boyd.
Yep.
They're loaded.
Yeah.
They're loaded.
That's how they got there last year.
They're loaded. And their defense showed up when it needed to show up. Their offense is loaded. Joe Burrow is one of the next dudes to get a fire-ass contract.
He's not get his bag.
He's not going in the opposite direction of what he went in last year. He's like one of them dudes. Now, I will agree with you on this one, Matt, is that when you look at who they are, and what they have historically been, they've been very competitive, and they've had a ton of receivers, right? From TJ to Chad to
right.
I mean, you name it, right? Like, Henry was a part of
AJ
that
Green.
team. AJ Green was a part of that team. I mean, they've had receivers, like a lot of receivers in Cincy. They just never was able to get over that hump of winning a game with Marvin Lewis in the first round of the playoffs. So now you get out of the first round of the playoffs. Not only do you get out of the first round of the playoffs, but you take it all the way to the last game. I think there's something that happens to you as a team when you keep relatively everyone together from a championship run. I don't see them slowing down. And I'm from Pittsburgh. I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. They are going to have their work cut out for them to get a win in week 1. Now, I think the game is it in Pittsburgh? Or is it in Pittsburgh?
It is in Cincy.
It's in Cincy.
Yeah, they ain't winning that. They're not winning that.
You got no faith in your Steelers, boys, man? Go on the road and get one?
It's not about the faith. I think they'll be a better team. I think they'll be a much improved team. I think there's some serious question marks surrounding the offensive line. What's my guy? Najee is dealing with the injury, the foot injury deal. Trubisky has questions surrounding him. He played well last year in spot duty in Buffalo, but there's question marks surrounding what he's going to do. If you go to the rookie, there's question marks, and does he have enough experience to come in and make a difference? I mean, there are a lot of question marks surrounding this Steelers team, and the biggest question marks are at quarterback and offensive line. I'm sorry, I don't think
Not
that
good.
unless they show it in this game, going into it, you can't go against the Bengals in this game.
True. So, but I do want to point something out because we followed this all last year, and it broke our little straight facts algorithm. We couldn't figure it out why.
Okay.
One of the question marks for the Steelers is not the defense. They returned, in my eyes, the best defensive player in the NFL right now in TJ Watt, and a very good
defensive player, best in the league. You saying that with confidence?
I can say it with a little confidence. Come on, man. The numbers he's putting up, Lester, he's no lower than 2 or 3. Him or AD, you choose one.
AD got to be the number one player, dog. AD's like the number one player overall. He ain't just a number one player on defense. He's like the number one player overall.
I was trying to give your Steelers some love. Also, he was going to jump on it.
If it's like the next 5-10 years, 5 years, you take TJ.
I was trying to help him out. I was trying to give him some confidence about his Steelers, man. I was trying to help him.
I like our defense. Bush is back this year. I like the defense. You got Minka back there in the backfield, in the defensive backfield. I like what we got.
So all this to say is that's not one of the question marks of the Steelers team. And a question mark of the Bengals team has been their offensive line. And Matt talked about how many times Joe Burrow got sacked last year. And they elect to go get Jamar Chase and not Penny Sewell. And everyone's thinking that's going to come back to bite him, it's going to come back to hurt them. And it doesn't. They make the Super Bowl in spite of that. So then you come to the draft this year and you're like, okay, so now they're going to pick an offensive lineman, right? Like now they're going to go get one. They draft a safety, then a cornerback, then a defensive lineman. Like they again, don't go get an offensive lineman.
Maybe, you know what? You make the Super Bowl and your quarterback gets sacked 50-some times. Maybe you start to believe, hey, we don't need an offensive lineman.
And that's my question. That's why I think week one is so.
But they did improve the offensive line this offseason. I mean, they brought in Lyle Collins. They draft the guy. I mean, they got a decent little offensive line, man. Maybe they brought somebody in on free agency. I'm a tad bit rusty on the details of it, but I know they brought in Lyle in free agency from Dallas. They did some things to solidify that offensive line being better than what it was this past year. Because you think about it, if they were able to do those things with him getting sacked and being under duress as much as he was, you got to assume that they're going to be that much better coming into this season, based off of having a better offensive line to protect Joe Burrow.
Mm-hmm.
They also got your Alex Kappa, James from the Bucks, to shore up the offensive line as well.
Way to make that hurt. Way to make that hurt.
Huh?
Way to make that hurt.
Well,
way to.
That's straight facts, man. What can I do?
Yeah, because our offensive line is struggling now. Straight facts. But I mean, it's a great test for the Bengals, right? It's a great test to see if it's going to be the same, if it's going to improve. Because if you keep Joe Burrow upright for those however many times he got, how many times he got sacked last year, and he's able to make more plays with that, like that's going to be an absolute problem. So it's really incumbent on what the Bengals can do week 1.
The only team to win a Super Bowl with a really below average offensive line in recent history is the 2008 Steelers. Roethlisberger got sacked that entire season, but they got kind of a favorable draw in the playoffs by playing the Chargers, and then the Ravens sacked him a bunch of the AFC title game, but they still won. But it was rookie Flacco, and then a Cardinals team with like a really young pass rush. But it's really hard to win without a passive offensive line. We'll see if that happens for the Bengals this year. But for week 1, like TJ Watt could have 4 sacks, and the Bengals could win by 14. Like that's
and what is that? That leaves our brains continue to be in a pretzel. Like that. You know what I mean?
Don't trip. The receiving core for Pittsburgh is fly too, though.
Mm-hmm.
They got a fly group in Pittsburgh as well. It's just the question marks on the offensive line. And can Trubisky be the quarterback that delivers the ball? I just think that you have less questions going into this game for Cincinnati than you do for Pittsburgh.
Well, I'll tell you what. If Joe Burrow puts up another Joe Burrow versus the Steelers game, under 200 yards, doesn't throw a touchdown pass, that gap closes a lot. Like, you know what I mean? If you're talking about the Steelers having a fly receiving core, having a great defense, maybe not great, but having a good defense, having a solid defense, something you're confident in. If he throws up another one of those games, I'm not sure the Bengals win by 14. They're deadlocked in Cincy with the Steelers.
The question that you have to ask yourself is how much better is Trubisky or Kenny Pickett than Ben Roethlisberger was in his last year? Because if it's a lot better, we could be looking at a team that not only could make the playoffs, but I'll say even win a playoff game. I don't like to put those expectations on.
Are you putting it out in the air?
Whether it's Trubisky or Pickett, I think there has to be some level of expectation. But they are talented. Pittsburgh is a team that I won't be sleeping on this year. I think I was sleeping on them last year.
Trubisky's a bad quarterback. Roethlisberger was a bad quarterback last year. He'll be roughly the same as Roethlisberger.
I think he might turn in a little bit better than Ben. He can make a little bit more plays than Ben was able to make last year. I'm not crazy.
Definitely mobile guys.
More mobile. I'm not crazy confident about Trubisky, but I am more confident in his ability to make plays than Ben Roethlisberger was last year. I mean, there were times where Big Ben was a detriment to the Steelers' offense. Where people were saying you got Ben's got to go. Ben's got to get out of the Steelers' way. And if Trubisky continues to be that, now at least they have somewhat of an insurance policy with Kenny Pickett, or a perceived insurance policy with Kenny Pickett. But let's move to this next team, because this next team is very interesting to me, at the very least. And I'm sure they're very interesting to the rest of the NFL because of the remaining pieces that are there. And that's the Green Bay Packers. They've won the NFC North 3 years running now. You hear Aaron Rodgers every time he plays the Vikings or the Bears yelling to the fans, "I own you." But it's a different team, right? No Devontae now. And it's a huge disparity. And it's something to see if the Packers are going to start on the front foot. And they start with a division game. And not for nothing, they start with a Vikings team who's always ready to scrap. A Vikings team who's always ready to play hard, and a Vikings team that's got weapons, at least on the offensive end, to stay in the game, with a Packers team that may not have enough weapons or as many weapons.
And a Vikings team that is probably hell-bent on supplanting the Packers, who've won for, just the last 3 years. They've been dominating the division. This is, not to jump you here, this is a huge barometer game for me to take the temperature on the Green Bay Packers. This is a incredibly tough test out of the gate. I know some people kind of roll their eyes at Kirk Cousins, but that's a legit offense. It's a defense that knows Rodgers well. If he comes over and kind of folds and the offense looks a little anemic, I don't like overreacting to week one. But this is, to me, a major flagpole game to see where the Packers are at this year.
Yeah. I mean, and let's go over Aaron Rodgers' numbers without Davante Adams. So since 2015, in 11 games, throwing without Davante Adams, a passer rating of 112, 2,700 yards, 24 touchdowns, just 3 interceptions. We know the interceptions are not a problem. Had just 4 last year in his MVP season, but not blowing anything out of the water. And to be fair, in the past when he didn't have Davante Adams, he still had playmakers there. He still had receivers there. He still had names there. And now you go this year, and your leading receiver is Allen Lazard. Your number one receiver is Allen Lazard. You don't even have MVS anymore, a guy who was known to take the top off the defense. So it begs the question, what kind of Green Bay Packers team are we going to see? And are we going to see a Packers team that now leans on their defense? Because the defense was very good at stretches last year.
Defense was good.
Really, I think really good at stretches last year. So
Rashard, Rashard Gary, excuse me. They got players. They had players.
Jair.
I anticipate the Packers actually figuring it out and being at the top of the NFC. Yeah, because you just can't replace you can't replace the caliber of player. You're talking about a back-to-back MVP. You can't replace that. Is it Davante Adams or is it Aaron Rodgers? Right? Before Davante, there was Jordy Nelson. Right? There was Randall Cobb. There was Greg Jennings. There was Greg Jones. They're just different guys. We didn't know who Greg Jennings was. We didn't know who Greg Jones was. Right? We didn't know that they would be as lights out. I think there's something to be said about having a quarterback that is so transcendent of what a quarterback is at the position that they make everybody around them better. So it's like those names that you're given, like the Lazards and all those the different guys. Didn't Watkins go there as well? Isn't Sammy
Watkins is there?
And not for nothing has already done the Tyreek Hill where he's saying I'd go Aaron Rodgers over Patrick Mahomes after spending the past 2 years.
I saw him say that.
You got to say that, but I mean, we'll see. I'm gonna see how much true that is.
I do think there's a lot of questions that have to be answered, but this isn't one of those teams where you sit there and say, I got to wait and see what's going to happen with Green Bay. He's lost in week one. It's not going to be a mind eraser if Aaron Rodgers and the Packers lose in week one. Now, I will say this. You don't want to go 0-1 against a divisional opponent. You don't want to get behind in week one. But they took the game. That's the schedule that they have to deal with. And Aaron Rodgers is he's off them shrooms or those hallucinogens or whatever. Yeah, them psychedelic dips. He came in looking like what's my man off
Nick Cage
off Con Air. I mean, he threw the hair back with the white tank top on and the tight jeans. Yeah, I think he's got something to prove. And when he took that shot at Davante and said, "Yeah, you mean what did he say? You mean my other Hall of Fame receiver or something to that effect, or your Hall of Fame, your Hall of Fame quarterback, whatever it was." Aaron Rodgers took a shot at Davante Adams, and I just think that all that dude needs is motivation. Last year was the motivation of the uncertainty that surrounded him with Green Bay. That motivated him. The year before, it was they brought in Jordan Love. That motivated him. This year, it's probably people don't give him a lot of an opportunity because he doesn't have Davante. That's motivation. I'm not betting against that.
I feel you. Is he that good to turn Allen Lazard into a household name?
Right. Yes.
That's my biggest question.
Yes.
That's right. Rodgers is one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time.
Yes.
He snake bit in the playoffs, but as a regular season team, the Packers have been by far the best team in the NFC over the last 3 years. They've won 13 games every single season. They're the only team to ever do that 3 straight seasons and not make a Super Bowl. But we're just talking about week one. Like, if they lose to Minnesota, like Minnesota has weird games where they beat teams that are better than them, and they finish 9-8. Like, so, like if Minnesota beats them, I'm not gonna like blink. I do think they're slightly worse than last year because of no Devontae, but I don't think it's
slightly. But see that's what makes me laugh is because you're not, and I don't just mean to jump on you, Stat, man, because you're not the only person that does that. But we want to give Aaron Rodgers so much credit that when he loses the best receiver in the NFL, you say they're slightly worse. And, but to me,
to Brady when Gronk got hurt, they got worse. Like in 2013, Brady had his worst statistical season. 2013, one of his worst statistical seasons ever because Hernandez went to jail unexpectedly, and Gronk got hurt, and they didn't have receivers, and his numbers went down. Like the greatest ever are bound to the players they're playing with.
I'm gonna hop off the point because Matt just called Tom Brady the greatest ever, and LaVar, like that's just a rare sighting. That's like a holy grail. You got to just covet that when you get it. But I do hear you about Aaron Rodgers because.
Can I ask you a question? Go ahead. Mr. On Your Head. I mean, where you got the Kansas City Chiefs going this year? Like, how far you got them going?
I am high on Juju because of him going into that offense and not obviously not repeating or being able to have the production that Tyreek Hill had in that offense, but he gives a new type of energy and a receiver that Patrick Mahomes hasn't had in a little bit. And I don't see them dropping off, as much. I still have them winning the AFC West. I'm not going to bet against them to win the AFC West. And I would say the expectation for the Chiefs is still AFC chips.
You lose the most electrifying receiver in the game right now. Maybe,
but
not
you bring in a good Devontae. One, right? Okay.
Yeah,
I'll let you finish the point.
But you guys made the point that I think Matt said they're worse. They're just a little bit worse than what they were the year before. Then you'd have to say that Kansas City is just a little bit worse than what they were the year before, right? And then on top of that, you got to say that the Raiders got a whole lot better than worse. They didn't go worse. They went a whole lot better. We're talking about Green Bay got worse because they lost Devontae. So what does that mean for Kansas City? See, to me, I'm not betting against Pat Mahomes. I think they will struggle more this year. We saw defenses catch up to Pat Mahomes last year. He wasn't as considerate, I'll say, of the ball as he has been in years past. He showed weaknesses last year. And for that, I'm not going to bet against him, but I think it's going to be a very, very hard road for Patrick Mahomes and for the Kansas City Chiefs. If they have success this year, it's more so because they've earned it more so than anything else, because everybody knows who they are now. Everybody knows they're coming. So they would have had to have earned this successful year this year. I would lean more towards Aaron Rodgers knowing how to navigate and do some impactful things with less than what I would trust with Pat Mahomes, just for the simple fact that we're just talking just straight up, experience. This is a real vet. So I don't know. I
hear your point.
I don't count them out. I don't count Aaron Rodgers and them out.
I don't know if I wouldn't count them out. But if we're comparing the Chiefs' new look to the Packers' new look, I'll take Juju and Travis Kelce and company over Allen Lazard, Robert Tonyan coming off an injury and company. Like they're still the pieces. That's what
Mercedes Lewis.
Okay, yeah, I'll give you Sadie's.
They still have Dylan. They still have Aaron Jones. Right. And those guys, they're probably both going to get. I mean, with the lack of top end weapons, and I agree with LaVar. Anyone you stick in there with Aaron Rodgers is going to be much better than they were without Aaron Rodgers.
All right, LaVar. So we're going to jump in. Last week, we all put all of our predictions out on the line for the 2022 season. And now since we're on, we got to hear what you're thinking about for how the season is going to go. So first one we'll do, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. is your most surprising either player or team going into the season? It could be good or bad, but who's about to surprise people this year?
I know this isn't a surprise, but it kind of is a surprise. I went with these guys last year. I think the Ravens are going to be the biggest surprise team this year. And I say that to the effect of I'll carry that over into my rookie of the year. I'll carry that into making a legit run for a title. So we could touch on that later. But I think I got the Ravens as that team.
A title run. Because I've heard a lot of people say that the Ravens are going to bounce back. I've heard a lot of people say Lamar himself is going to bounce back. But they take that all the way to a title. Why you say that all the way to a title? I got some questions, man.
They got a fire defense. They got a steal in the defensive end from Michigan because he sustained that injury. He'll be good to go. Your defensive front, Calais Campbell, Odafe Owe, your linebacking core is fire. I told you I'll touch on the rookie of the year deal in a minute, but their secondary got really, really good. Like that
Marcus
draft
Peters
pick
comes back.
That draft pick at safety that's a goblin. So to me, the Ravens, they had all those injuries last year. They were a snake-bitten team last season. They come back healthy this year, and Lamar is in a contract year, seemingly a contract season. I'm putting my saddle and I'm attaching my wagon to the Ravens.
I like it.
You got that purple on for a reason.
That's
we both got purple on. I don't know if it looks purple on the camera.
It looks blue.
Kind of blue. Yeah,
it
but
looks like you
purple.
repping the Rams. It looks like you repping the Rams right now.
No, I'm from Pittsburgh, and my this is where I'm from, and my elementary school was purple and yellow. So, but it looks blue on the camera, but it is purple.
Okay.
So your purple shirt is really purple. My purple
it's
shirt
like
is, I guess it's like a blue.
What is that? This that Phoenix Full Phantoms, Jake. Tell them about this. This that throwback
Phantom
work.
purple.
This that 610 work, man. They don't even know
Colorado
about
Rockies.
that. Say it again.
Old school Colorado Rockies.
No, it's the Phantoms. I don't want to rip the Rockies. All right, LaVar, we'll go into your offensive or defensive rookies of the year. We can start with offensive, but who do you think is going to take away the offensive rookie of the year?
I think James Cook is going to take the rookie of the year. I think Buffalo is a really, really solid team. Obviously, if I were to say in order, I look at Baltimore as a dark horse to be a Super Bowl team, but I would put the Buffalo Bills at a close second as a dark horse to go to the Super Bowl this year. Both are two teams that have well-ran organizations, have put together some really, really strong rosters, and they're clicking. Like Josh Allen is clearly maybe the top quarterback in the league right now, outside of the conversation of Pat Mahomes and, of course, Aaron Rodgers. Some people throw Tom Brady in there, but he is certainly an elite quarterback. So when you have an elite quarterback and you can throw the ball the way that we know you're a Tampa Bay fanboy.
Just gotta make sure you don't make my presence known.
And in the end, I think that because of their stability on offense and how good I think their defense will be even better this year. I think it gives James Cook a real opportunity to have an impact, a tremendous impact on the run game for Buffalo. So I'm gonna go with James Cook.
And James Cook is I like that pick because he goes into a running back room that had no alpha, that had no one who stepped up. And Devin Singletary did his thing for a couple of games. Zach Moss will come in and do his thing. But if James Cook could come in and show that he can be effective both the run and pass, I think that just minimizes their need to have Devin Singletary and Zach Moss in the backfield. And Buffalo doesn't strike me as an offense, I could be wrong, but they don't strike me as an offense that would want to have the three running back by committee system. If one running back wants to come and take the lead and be the feature back in that offense and allow Josh Allen to have just something solid behind him, but have something solid behind him, then I think, I think they would rather going
Get
through
something solid behind him, huh? I got you. We got you. We hear you loud and clear,
that.
brother.
No, listen. That came out wrong. But y'all know what I mean.
Yeah. Did it come out wrong?
That's all sorts of pauses.
Dude,
But
hey, it's a whole lot of pauses. But yeah, I'm with you there.
I didn't start week one.
With you.
Of all the teams not starting week one hot, I definitely didn't start week one hot with that one. That was not good.
Sorry, you didn't get a training camp. This is a warm
I'm
up.
on your head. I'm on your head with that one. I'm on your head with that one. I need something real firm and sturdy behind me, and it came out wrong. Like, I'm on your head, bro.
Jake, please change the subject. But please,
yeah,
please
on your head.
So we heard the rookie of the year, and I heard you were high on the Ravens. Super Bowl pick this year. Who do you got?
Yeah, so and let me give you Kyle Hamilton as the defensive rookie of the year. So James Cook as the offensive rookie of the year. Kyle Hamilton, the safety out of Notre Dame. He is as good as advertised. I think he will have a tremendous impact on that defense in the secondary. But who do I have going to the Super Bowl? I rode the wave of saying Baltimore last year. I'm going to double down on it and say Baltimore makes it in which would be interesting because you would have an AFC North team going to the Super Bowl twice in a row, which wouldn't be a mind blow. I mean, Kansas City went twice in a row. And then who do I have as the winner? I think Green Bay goes back to the Super Bowl as well. And honestly speaking, if I had to choose between the two today, if Baltimore makes it that far, I think they win it.
All right, Baltimore over Green Bay. I haven't heard many Green Bay predictions. That's a sharp take.
I've heard people talk highly of the Ravens. I've heard people be confident about the Ravens, but they've always stopped just short of where LaVar just went. Yeah. And I can tell they've wanted to go there, but they haven't thought that they could get to that.
The Rams beating Baltimore in the Super Bowl.
Oh, there you go. You got one with Matt.
They could definitely do it. I mean, they've got the talent to do it. They've got the experience to do it.
And LaVar said it to start. A snake-bitten team last year. We talked about it. You lose your top 3 running backs before the season even starts. And now, Le'Veon Bell is your starting running back week 1. That's just no one. And then Lamar goes down. Marcus Peters goes down. You have all these injuries all over. By far the most injury-ridden team in the NFL, especially when it comes to players that matter. Put all those people on the field last year. And what does Baltimore do? And it's not like Baltimore imploded last year.
They lost a bunch of games because they missed 2-point conversions.
Yeah, they're a couple of games away from still being a playoff team, even with Lamar missing games, even with all these people missing games. We talked about J.K. Dobbins a couple of times about how I'm looking for him to have a comeback season. I really like J.K. Dobbins. So if they can figure it out in the passing game, that's the biggest question mark they still have. But a lot of people like what Devin Duvernay is going to do.
Big Gus too.
Big Gus that back there too. Let's see what the Ravens can do. I'm gonna be remembering this one, man. I'm gonna be remembering this one because I am confident on the Ravens. I'm not sure how far they can go in terms of a championship, but you speak a lot into existence there, LaVar. You speak a lot.
We'll see. Like I said, I'm doubling down on them.
I like the double down, man. Always double down. Speaking of speaking things into existence. We're going to move to our final segment of the podcast. We always do this with the guests, and it's always a good one. Our favorite segment called Speaking Facts. So, LaVar, to set the scene, we've pulled some quotes out there from the sports world. Some crazy, some not so crazy, but it's up for you to decide. We're going to ask you, is this person speaking facts or are they not speaking facts? So the first one is really a graphic posted by NFL Game Day, but it's of Michael Irvin saying that he believes that Kirk Cousins is going to win MVP. Now, I see where he's coming from. So Jake's like, no. So you can either answer it straight up. Do you think Kirk Cousins is going to win MVP? Or do you think he's speaking facts that Kirk Cousins is just going to go out and have himself a really good season? But it's Michael Irvin speaking facts.
That's not facts.
This is just straight up. Just straight up.
That's not facts. That's not fact. That's a very flimsy opinion.
Kirk Cousins will win an NFC Offensive Player of the Week award this year.
One time.
One
time. Why when they play the
And
Lions?
it won't be week one. It won't be week one.
And it won't be week one against the Packers.
And it won't be week one.
Yeah. Do you see where Irv's coming from? Like, can you formulate? No, he's just going off the cuff. It's like when he was sweating on First Take with Stephen A. It's probably like one of them.
I think he's good. I think he's good. I think he's above the average line. I mean, I even give him, low end franchise quarterback. I give him franchise. I put franchise on his name, but MVP
franchise tag quarterback, because that's what Washington did twice. I give him franchise. To me, Kirk Cousins is the line. Like he is the average line. He's the line. If you're better than Kirk Cousins, you're a good quarterback. If you're worse than Kirk Cousins, then you might be looking for a job in a couple of years. But Kirk Cousins to me is the line of starting NFL quarterback, average NFL.
I mean,
Mike is not speaking facts. That's the bottom line of this conversation. Sure. He's not speaking facts.
If we were to let's go into fantasy land for a second.
Love it.
What would have to happen for Kirk Cousins to be the MVP? They have to win the division. They have to be the number one team in the conference. You're saying the Vikings have no chance of doing that. I'm not saying I agree with Michael Irvin, but do they have a chance?
Body switch with Aaron Rodgers.
Because
they have a chance of finishing top of the division. They have a chance for that. 100%.
One or two.
They have a chance for that.
But if that happens, do you see it being because of Kirk Cousins? Because not only do they have to finish that, he's got to be the driver of that. Like he's got to be the main reason that goes out and happen. I just don't see Kirk Cousins willing the Vikings to that kind of finish.
The only league MVP that's coming out of the NFC North would be Aaron Rodgers. Case closed. Let's move on.
The only one.
Only one.
The only one. We can move on. Where we're going to college, man, back to your old stomping grounds and Penn State, because James Franklin had something that we need to address. He said unequivocally, we can win a championship this year. After that week one win against Purdue, a great game to set up the season, is James Franklin speaking facts? Can your alma mater go and get themselves?
I think that is a pretty doggone good question, because I find Penn State to be kind of the answer is no. I don't think they're a championship caliber team this year, not just yet. But with that being said, I can see why he would have that line of thought. I really can. And I'm not saying that because that's my alma mater and I'm a fan of James Franklin. I'm saying that because they really have. If you look at their recruiting classes over the last 3-4 years, they have done an excellent job of bringing in top talent. So while I'll say I don't think they're a championship team this year, I do think that they are the closest. I believe they are the closest to being able to knock Ohio State off in the Big Ten out of any other team in the 10. And that's saying something.
That is saying something.
Yeah. Well, remember, Michigan's the defending champs. Technically,
yeah, but it's Ohio State. It's not Michigan. That was an aberration. Is that what they call it? An aberration? Like that?
That'd be correct. That's exactly what it was.
Yeah, that was a 1-year deal. Yeah, it's Ohio State.
All right, that's great. I love the double down on everything. Like I love LaVar's about it, man. If he feels it, he gonna double down, and I like it. Let's see if he comes to his man's defense on this one, because we got a familiar face on Speaking Facts. Your guy, my guy, the network's guy, Mr. TJ Hushmanzada, a few months had this to say about the Falcons' new draft pick, Drake London. He said he's going to be one of the best receivers in the league in 4 years, maybe 3 if he gets the right team and the right quarterback. So the team is the Atlanta Falcons. The quarterback right now is Marcus Mariota. In 3 to 4 years, is TJ speaking facts, man? Like, is Drake London going to be one of the best in the game in a couple of seasons?
Best in the game. No. I would not give him best in the game in the next few years. It's possible. I know he's a pretty good. He's. I mean, he had a great career out of USC. But I'll tell you this. TJ trains. So let me give y'all the caveat here, right? TJ trains a lot of these guys. He trains the quarterbacks.
Right.
He trains with the quarterbacks. He trains the receivers. He has very, very intimate knowledge of how some of these guys look. Like he called money on Chase Claypool. He called money on the kid Jamar Chase, and Cincy. Mm-hmm. He called money on Herbert. I mean, he's been pretty good at prognosticating who will move out. But I don't know that. I mean, he's a big body. He is a big body receiver. He's got great size. You got the guy. I mean, is he going to even be better than Pitts on that team? You know what I mean? Like Pitts is to me, he's the guy. You know what I mean? But I think that's going to be a nice 1-2 punch that develops. But right now, today, you got Marcus Mariota throwing the ball to him.
Right.
Sorry. Yeah, I got to tap out on that one right there. Until I know who their quarterback is going to be of the future, I don't care how good you are. The pros is really about when you go to the right organization. You go to the right organization, you got an opportunity to have success in the league. You go to the wrong one, you'll have if were a great college player or had great resume or great DNA, you'll have a pretty good career. You might even have a Hall of Fame career, but you'll be no different than a Calvin Johnson, and you'll be no different than an Andre Johnson. It's just it's hard to have success at that high of a level to be considered the best in the game. Like, name me a best receiver in the game right now that's on a shitty team. Like, name me one.
Not on a bad team.
Receiver.
Like Justin Jefferson.
I mean, you want to say Jefferson? I was about to say we could say Jefferson.
On the worst team
but
in the bunch.
They're not a horrible team. Yeah, they're not horrible.
Yeah. Right, that's not a bad team. That's not a bad team.
And Kirk Cousins. You might be able to throw another name or so out there, but Kirk Cousins can throw the ball.
Right. Maybe. And last year you could have said like A.J. Brown, but I don't know if A.J. Brown would have been in the top.
When he was good.
A.J. Brown.
Right, but I'm talking about the top. I'm talking about the top.
Yeah, Allen Robinson.
I'm talking about the top receivers.
And Penn Stater, by the way. But
yeah, right.
But I mean, Allen Robinson isn't top 5. He's not top 5. Mm-mm. No, he's not top 5.
And that's where TJ and that's where TJ's projecting Drake London. He said one of the best in the game. To me, that's one of the best in the game doesn't fall below 5'6".
I don't know what one of the best means to him. If that's top 10.
Wide receivers are stacked right now. There's so many really, really, really good ones.
There's some really good receivers.
It's hard to say if one of the best means top 5.
But you got to have a really good quarterback. Let's start there. If you don't have a good quarterback, it's not going to work. And right now, I am not a buyer of Marcus Mariota.
And that's why TJ's not speaking fast, because the second part of his quote was, if he goes to a good team with the right quarterback. The team he went to was the Falcons. The quarterback he got was Marcus Mariota.
That's what you got.
So if that's what's incumbent on you being one of the best, it's.
If I would have went to the Pittsburgh Steelers, I would have been a Hall of Famer. You know what I mean?
Talk to him.
Horseshoes and hand grenades. That's it.
Sir.
That's the only time almost matters.
Yeah,
that's time. Speaking of almost, we're almost out of this time. We're almost out of time for this episode of Straight Facts. It was a great one, man. We kicked off season 3 with a bang. Our guy, LaVar Arrington, joined us. But as always, we can get some shots up at the buzzer. LaVar, you got anything to say at the buzzer, man? Tell the people.
Well, I mean, just make sure you go to where it is that you download your podcast. Make sure you subscribe to Up On Game and Up On Game Presents. Obviously, Up On Game Presents has a plethora of amazing personalities and content creators, podcasters. One of those shows being the one that I'm on currently right now, Straight Facts Podcast. Dope, super dope. One of the first shows that I went after and wanted to sign when we started the network. So I'm just happy to be on the show with you guys. I like your guys', I love your guys' work and have been a huge supporter of what you guys are doing. So yeah, just make sure you check out the shows. We got some amazing shows. We got, contact sport shows, like fight game shows with Rhett Butler. We got Women in Sports with Tommy Vincent, who is the wife of Troy Vincent. If you know his name, he's one of the high-ranking corporate officials in the National Football League. A Philadelphia Eagle great. We have the Bat Boy, Billy the Bat Boy for baseball, for your baseball fix. Yeah. We got my man Adam with what are those with sneaker culture, stuff like that. So we got a lot. We have a slew of talent in Up On Game Presents, and I just hope people continue to support and continue to learn more about what we're bringing to the table, because we're trying to bring super innovative, super exciting, and entertaining content to the table.
Yeah, tell them get on the wave, OG. Tell them get on the wave, because it's coming. Like this network is booming. He named all the personalities. He named all the podcasts, and who's at the forefront of it. So just if we weren't enough, we've been saying this for the past year. If you guys not gonna listen to us to subscribe to Up On Game, maybe you'll listen to Head Honcho over here, man. Maybe his voice carry a little bit more weight.
I was on Instagram. I was loving the What Are Those episode. Adam was talking about the Kanye versus Adidas.
Oh, the Yeezy Adidas beef. He all over it right now.
I love that content. I eat it up.
Check it out.
He's a Butler too, by the way. You got Rhett Butler, you got Adam Butler. So there you go. You got two Butlers.
You got the Butler did it. Jake,
the Butler did.
The
Butler did.
I just want to say that as someone who really likes stats, as my name is Stat Matt, and I love analytics, 538 just came out with their 2022 quarterback ratings, and whatever their algorithm is, they needed to tweak it. I'm sorry, they should have burned it. It's the worst rankings I've ever seen. I can't believe they publicly released it.
Give me 1 through 10 real quick.
1 through 10 is not going to be a bother to you. I'll just go 11's Joe Burrow, 12's Mitch Trubisky, 13's Russell Wilson. Yeah.
Let me stop you at 12. Yeah. Let me stop you at 12.
Yeah.
Because you said Mitch Trubisky, the guy on the Steelers, Mitch Trubisky. Now, LaVar, that's your team. Yeah. You don't got it. If you don't got anything nice to say, you don't got to say anything at all. But Mitch Trubisky at 12 to me is crazy.
I don't think that's crazy. He's not bad.
Shaky, baby.
Shaky.
Top half of the league.
It's not bad.
Shaky, baby. Top half of the league, though.
They have Gardner Minshew ahead of Derek Carr.
Yeah, no, you can just throw it out.
Please don't get me started on Derek Carr disrespect.
Yeah,
please don't get me started on Derek Carr disrespect today, because we've done a lot of it. Please don't get me started. That's interesting. So, I mean, look, that's I don't know what that's based on. I don't know if that's based on hype. I don't know if that's based on projection. All I know is I haven't seen a world where Mitch Trubisky is the 12th best quarterback in the league in a long time.
Ever.
Ever. Jake said ever. But that in a very long time. So Matt is deep in the weeds right now for y'all. For y'all who are just listening.
It makes all analytics look bad because these stupid analytics people don't watch football.
Yeah,
and
you're the defender.
It's this kind of crap that makes people how can you?
He's getting mad.
He's really getting mad. No, he's actually getting mad. We'll let him cool down. Jake, you got something to say at the buzzer?
Just gonna keep it short. Very, very excited for this opportunity coming up on the Up On Game Network. Wanted to thank you, LaVar, again for giving us this shot. We're going to have a ton of great content. If you're not subscribed, subscribe wherever you find podcasts, especially on Twitter. We're going to be retweeting some of the clips from this show. You could follow LaVar as well. You'll see his @ there when we get it out there. I wanted to thank you, LaVar, again for coming on the show, man.
Much love, fellas.
Much love. All right, I'll write it out quick too. Guys, it's time to play everyone's favorite game.
Oh, no.
Does James have unrealistic social expectations? LaVar, let me set the scene, bro, for context. One time I was in the kitchen with my mom, and I sneezed, and she didn't say bless you. And I got really mad that she didn't say bless you. We got in a whole fight.
I would have been offended.
Thank you. That's why you my dog, man. You really my dog because thank you. You hold that principle too. She got mad at me and told me that I have unrealistic social expectations because
every time sneezes, unless they sneeze, like I'm a chronic sneezer because I'll have an allergic reaction to something or whatever, and I'll sneeze. You letting like 5 of them go? Yeah, no, like 20. I'll go like 20, like literally a real 20. Once you get past like 3 or 4 bless yous, it's okay not to keep saying it. But, a singular sneeze that receives no God bless you, that means they don't care about you. That's what that says to me. If I sneeze and I'm full of a house full of people and I hear nothing come my way, they got to get the hell out of my house. Including
that's so music to my ears.
If my kids don't say God bless you when I sneeze, they got to go. If I don't say God bless you to them, I got to go. We got to go. Everybody's got to go.
I've never been. This is like top 5 happiest moments of my life right now. My whole way of thinking has been validated because they don't always be on my side. Like they defend me, but then they admit that I have unrealistic social expectations.
Okay, well, let's hear the latest iteration.
I almost don't even want to say. Okay, here's what happened to me today at Wawa. A lot of bad social cues happen at Wawa. So I'm pulling into the gas. It's packed at the gas station. The pump. Everybody got to get gas every day now. So I'm pulling into the pump, right? And all of them's taken. So I sit behind somebody, just wait my turn. And the car's on. I can see the foot's on the brake on their headlights. So I'm waiting for them to turn their car off and go and pump their gas. I kid you not. I'm waiting at this gas pump for like 10, close to 15 minutes. Like, why I didn't move, I don't know. And you know what happens? No one ever gets out the car to go pump gas. Someone comes out of Wawa with their food, gets in the passenger seat, and then they peel off and go. So I don't know if they got gas before I got there, but I'm pretty sure they didn't because I'm pretty sure I watched them go in. So, that got me fuming mad. I was late to work and all that. So, like, why am I unrealistic for that? Like, am I unrealistic for getting mad that you took up the whole time and you weren't even pumping gas?
Were no other pumps open?
No, that's why I was sitting behind them.
Yeah, I would be upset. I'd be upset.
Should I be this upset, though? Because I was ready to, like...
spaces open?
I don't... Probably. It's a Wawa.
Because a lot of it, I'm assuming the guy probably didn't see a parking space open.
No, Matt, that's not what it was. You're giving them the benefit of the doubt. I'm not doing that. I just think because in the Wawa you pull in and the gas station is the first things you see. And I just think they were lazy. Like, I don't feel like going and finding a parking space.
For sure. But that's like, would you not do something along those lines?
If I'm at a pump, I've gotten gas. Am I getting a tremendous amount of gas? No. But if I go to a pump, gas fuel is going into my gas tank.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you.
The only situation where that's okay is if there's a bathroom emergency.
No, because the parking spaces are closer to Wawa.
No, if you don't have time to look for a parking spot, you just need an.
I don't know why you always try to find these random people's side, man. I don't know why you can't just like why.
No, I'm trying to be fair. I'm trying to be.
The only reason I didn't go and chase them down is because I needed gas and I couldn't afford to go on a bad chase with them because I would have ran out of gas. But trust me, man, I wanted to. But we're about to slide out of here for this first episode of Straight Facts. It was a great one. Again, thank you to that man, LaVar Arrington, for stepping on the pod and having a great first episode with us. We cannot wait to get Plexico Burris and TJ Hushmanzada on here and fill out the whole Up On Game Presents crew. But like he said, make sure you follow Up On Game Present wherever you get your podcasts so you can listen to this podcast and many, many more. But I'm Jimmy J. For my guys, Jake Galley and Stat Matt Robinson. These have been the facts.
Straight up.